Hello everyone, I'm Lisa with Lisa Capen Quilts, and I am in the process of making a t-shirt quilt. Thought I'd bring you along and show you the markings on my mat. I make tons and tons and tons of t-shirt quilts, and I'm always looking for ways to speed up the process, yet achieve excellent results. And so I would love to pass along these tips. I was in the process of making another video, and I thought, I've had several people ask me about the markings on my cutting mat and how I put them on my mat. And so I thought I would do this quick video and show you the marks on my mat and why they're so useful and speed up the process. So you've all seen these rulers. They come in all different sizes, like 4.5 by 4.5, 6.5 by 6.5. We have an 8.5 by 8.5. There's a 10-inch increment. There's a 12-inch increment. There's I think there's a 16-inch increment. All of these save lots of time when cutting out smaller logos in your t-shirt quilts. Sometimes we're cutting out logos that are not in increments, like 6.5 by 6.5. This logo here I'm cutting out to be 4.5 inches wide and 6.5 inches tall. And so I've come up with these markings on my mat to really speed up the process, and I just thought I'd bring you along. Again, I've had several people ask me, and I think this will be a lot easier than trying to type it out and explain how to mark your mat. So let me bring you a little bit closer so that you can see my markings. So now that we're a little bit closer, I'm hoping that you can see everything pretty well. However, you won't see the huge large mat that I have on my table. This is a Fisker's mat. It is 36 inches long and 24 inches wide. And I'll put a link to this mat, if I can find one, in the description box below so that you can check out all of the information about this mat. I really love this mat because you can fit a yard of fabric on this mat. However, you don't have to have a mat this large to make a t-shirt quilt or any kind of quilt. This is just a useful mat size for me. So what I did, because I'm always cutting different size blocks, I came up with marking my mat with my own numbers instead of using the numbers that are on the mat already. And I hope that I'm not making this too confusing, and I'm going to be moving the mat around so that you can see everything. So what I did is I came right in the center at the 16-inch mark. That's the center of my mat. And with a Sharpie, I wrote center. Then what I've done is I've counted out 2.25 inches on both sides, and I made a mark at 4.5 and 4.5. So let me show you how this helps. If I have a t-shirt logo and I've marked the center and I want to cut this out at 4.5 inches, allowing 1/2 inch for a seam allowance, I can line up my center mark with my center on my mat, and now I don't have to count. I don't have to spend the time counting. I can just line up with the center, and I already know I can bring my ruler here and cut my 4.5 inch, including my seam allowance. So my first mark, I counted over 2.25 inches and made my mark at 4.5. The same way on the left side, first mark 4.5. Then I went in 2-inch increments because usually my t-shirt quilt blocks are divisible by 2 or by 4 or by 6. And so I went over 2 more inches, which means an inch to the right and an inch to the left, and I marked that mark at 6.5. So if I wanted to cut this block at 6.5, I would line up the center mark. I would bring in my ruler very quickly and line that up with the 6.5 mark, and then just slide it over 6.5, and there's my block at 6.5 inches wide. So I went over and I've made a mark at 8.5, 10.5, 12.5. Keep on going. 12.5, 14.5, 16.5, 18.5, 20.5, and this would be for your larger logos, for the really big ones that come on the extra large shirts. 22.5, 24.5, 26.5, and 28.5. Again, all of this is exactly the same on the left side of this center, just like this. And so that allows saving so much time and counting. You know, if you were just to place your ruler here and you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then moving your ruler again, all of the marks are on the mat. I'm hoping you get a very good picture of that, and I hope that that answers some of the questions I've had about how I've made the marks on my mat. And if you have any questions, you can jump down to the comment section below, and I would love to help you. And I hope that you might give this a try and see how much time it saves you. Okay, as always, I'm so glad to pass along the tips. I hope they're very helpful for you, and we will see you really soon in our next video. Bye, everyone.